Today we're going to talk about social media, and I wanted to discuss with you guys what I've done and what's worked, what's not worked, the stuff I've failed at miserably, and what lessons I've learned from doing all that. I am not a social media guru in any which way, shape or form. This is just my experience in really trying to build my brand slowly but surely over the past 9 months or so, and stuff that I've done, and hopefully you can take something away from that that's going to be useful for you guys to actually put into practice yourselves. I've outsourced a number of different aspects of it, some successfully, some miserably not successfully. And again, I'll try and bring all that in, so hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and wins as well, if you like. So to kick off, I'm going to go over an example job posting. And this was posted by one of the Systems for Outsourcing group on the private Facebook page. So some of you might have already read this. It's really, I think, a really good posting in some ways. And I've discussed it with the author, and they said it's fine for me to use today. But I won't mention any names. And we're going to just basically go through that and just break it down a little bit to have a look why I thought where it could be improved. It's good in some ways and not so good in others, in my opinion. And I'll let you decide what you think. So I'm going to actually let you read this, because I'd like, just so it only takes 2 minutes to read it, and then everyone will be on the same page. So if you can read it, if you've got a big enough screen, then please do so. It will just make this next section. I'll read it out. I'm not very great at reading out loud, but there you go. I'll give it a go. So the social media manager is expected to understand and know how to do blogs, be familiar and experienced with social media management sites, specifically Hootsuite, know how to utilize CRM tools and build management customer relations and engagement, arrange and send various contents related to the business and to the company's customers and audience, manage the company's social media accounts, Facebook, Facebook Business, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. It continues. It is preferred that the social media VA has an excellent researching skills. He or she will be expected to provide daily useful contents, links, feeds to the company's customers and followers. Anything related to the business, such as interesting facts and news related to the UK property market, commercial or residential, upcoming events such as property networking, financial independence, wealth and creation seminars, and so on. The responsibilities will include setting up pages, establishing presence and building lists on social networks, and relevant to the company's strategic objectives. Content curation of articles, videos, and white papers that connect to the company's audience's needs. Conduct research to collect useful media data. Research, create content for blogs. Utilize Hootsuite to manage social media posts. And this job would initially be 2 to 3 hours a day, which will include content research, writing, tweeting, updating CRM, and engaging with customers and followers. So that was the posting, and there wasn't a great response for it. And my initial thought when I read that was, wow, that's a lot of stuff for this one VA to deal with 2 to 3 hours a day. I thought it was a brilliant description, an all-encompassing description of a great marketing department for a small business. But I don't think it was suitable to try to hire somebody on a part-time basis to try to do all of those different roles that actually, if you start going through that in quite a lot of detail and looking at the different skill sets that are required, the experience, the expertise, the knowledge that might be required, and the time as well. So I thought it was a really good exercise to go through that. And we had a conversation about it. And what I've done is, so I just put some of the things that I noted on there on the page. So too much one person, multiple skill sets. Some areas are vague. So what does actually do blogs mean? Does it mean, create them, post them, publish them, edit them, SEO? Does it mean research them, write them? So there's lots of things it could mean. And does it mean all of those things? And are all those things possible to be done by one single person? So those sorts of questions that are left a bit vague and therefore probably need addressing if you want to get people, interested professionals who are good at doing stuff like blogs. They want to do blogs. They're not really interested in the rest of the stuff that job posting might have included. And we'll talk about that in a second. And the overall purpose and goal of the social media management role wasn't actually clearly defined. So is it to increase numbers of people on a list, for example? Is it for direct sales through content marketing? So there's different purposes of what your social media strategy or the goal of the social media strategy, and it wasn't really clear what that was in there. So maybe somebody who's very sales focused might be leaning towards taking a role if that was the focus. If there's bonuses dependent on sales driven by that social media marketing campaigns, for example, that might attract certain personality types, whereas it might put off others. So just some thoughts that I had while we were discussing it, and I hope that's useful. So what I did after that meeting was to really look at that posting in detail and then really pull it apart and say, okay, what are the different roles that very broad but very thorough description of a marketing department, if you like, what did they incorporate, and how would you break that up into actually hiring individual roles in order to fill all those job needs, if you like. And that posting, along with me thinking, okay, well, what have I needed over the past 6 months, whatever, more than that now, that I've been actually looking at this? Where have I felt I've fallen short? What roles have I needed but not really filled yet? And how could I actually come up with what those responsibilities for each of those roles would be? And that basically led me to draw up this very, very basic, and it's just not meant to be I can't think of the word, but a guru's guide to being to a marketing department by any means. This is just my idea of what a sort of a typical entrepreneur's initial marketing department might be. And when you read books like the E-Myth and stuff, they talk about this. They talk about putting down what your ideal marketing department, what your ideal company organization chart, I should say, should look like. So then you can backfill the roles. Initially, you'll find that you are in every single role, because if you're a one-man band, you are in every role in your company. And you'll find that some roles are very neglected because you just simply don't have time to do everything. Whereas other roles you may be over-focusing on, or you're just spreading yourself too thin and not doing anything particularly well. So the idea of putting this down on a chart like this gives you the possibility to then break your role, the bigger role, if you like, so the role of marketing or the role of social media marketing, and break it up into specific roles that you can then think about outsourcing on an individual need-by-need basis. And only when you've got something like this, and this is just an example, but only when you've got some of this can you think about, okay, well, what does each of those roles incorporate? And you've got these here, you've got these sort of this level, if you like. And I would say that quite nicely defines 4 different roles that you could hire when looking to outsource this, which are much more clearly compartmentalized than, say, a general marketing or general social media manager, if you like, because you still need content to be produced for your social media manager to publish. I think there's 2 very different roles. And if you try to blur those 2 together, then you've got somebody who may be really great at managerial skills, who can organize really well, great attention to detail, good at structuring, scheduling, who's then trying to do writing creative stuff. And often those personality types don't fit together. So being clear about actually those 2 roles, if you like, are quite different, and maybe 2 different people would be necessary for those, gives you a much better chance of success, in my opinion. And I've fallen short of fallen foul, I should say, of trying to get one person to do these multiple roles and sort of trying to lead them to, and I'll talk about a little bit more about that in a minute, and it's failed. So by doing this and breaking this down, I'm looking to hire specific people with specific skill sets that match their strengths, rather than trying to get a one-size-fits-all. So I'm going to break down all these job roles into a bit more detail. And if you think, so the colours represent what you could initially hire as one person, but then as you grow and as your needs grow, you can then break it down further and hire new people. And these dotted lines, I'm trying to say, are meant to be people that you might need temporarily. Because once your websites are on the whole set up, You don't need a web developer on a day-by-day basis. You'll need someone to maintain them. So you need some technical support. That's just in the middle simply because it made it squashed the whole thing together so it was nicer to look at on the screen. But that's the only reason that it's there. But the technical support can maintain this sort of stuff once it's set up correctly and then on the right sort of platforms, so you don't overcomplicate the maintenance by keeping everything simple, standardized, for example, using WordPress. So I'll talk about that. And simply, you've got this, the account setup. Setting up your social media accounts is the most important part in many ways. And getting that right is really, really key to then getting good exposure of your posts as you create them and post them on that, and good reach. Similar with the CRM. You don't need a CRM expert every day of your company. You just need one to set yourself up, and then you need someone to actually maintain it. Okay, so I'm going to rattle through these. They're not intended to be to give you a detailed job descriptions for everyone, because it's just really my thoughts about and pulling things together in my experiences. You get a copy of these slides, so you don't need to write everything down, but they're just some ideas that are going to help. So, director of marketing, and so referring back to this, so I'll just quickly go through. So, but obviously, hopefully you're all familiar with org charts, but director of marketing sits at the top. That's really the overview of at the moment. This is probably you. It's definitely me. I definitely don't have anyone managing my marketing for me. I wish I did, and it would be great if you could just hand over. Unfortunately, that's a highly skilled, highly paid job. Probably involves taking on a director, if you like, as I said there, and getting them to really invest in the company, be a partner in your company, because you want somebody who's really got a good vested interest in your company doing well, I believe, to lead your marketing department, if you like. So that's the highest level, and then that person will be responsible for managing these next level downs and so on. Okay, so director of marketing, so they really have a strategic overview, like most directors should, and it's about making sure the marketing strategy, in my opinion, is in line with your company's vision and your company's mission statement. So where your company's going, so your company vision, and how you're going to get there, your mission statement. What the values of the company, and how does that and how should they be used in order to dictate what marketing strategies you use. If you don't know those now, then it's very difficult for you to decide what strategy to use and how you want to push your marketing and where you want to focus your resources and your money on actually driving your sales or your business. So, and tactically responsible. So they need to develop the company's marketing strategy in line with the vision and mission, say, for example, and then to coordinate that with the team, so the management team. And then they leave the management team to take care of the lower people on the org chart. So the content manager, and their role, again, this is probably going to be you right now, because somebody's got to decide what it is that is going to get published, what the content's going to be, what you're going to focus on, what's your message going to be about what you're actually trying to get out there, what you're trying to help people with, what value are you trying to deliver to the community. And at the beginning, especially, well, for quite a long time probably, in my opinion, I'm not quite to a point where I would want to hand this over. I want to be the curator at the moment of making sure that the material that goes out, not the editing, the spelling and all that, I can leave that to other people, but it's the voice that it's spoken in, and also the emphasis of the article. So I'm moving towards more just basically giving an opinion about what I think is great, rather than trying to do a big review of all the products out there, because I haven't got time to review everything in enough detail to be giving advice with integrity. But I can tell you what I know about the products I use day in, day out. So that's a point to me. So that's a shift from getting somebody else to be writing about, doing some reviews for me on software I suggest to them, which what I did originally, to now thinking, okay, actually, I want to give real value, but on quite a focused stuff that I know really, really well, because I think that suits me and my personality better. So just an example, but yours will be very different depending on what your business is focusing on. And you then got to think about how whatever material you produce. So for example, this webinar I'm doing now, I hope this webinar will be able to be repurposed, so I can use it elsewhere. But I also might be able to put down some main points, and maybe make a PDF out of it, maybe get produce an infographic. We'll see. And that's the idea, is to you repurpose this. The audio could be used as a podcast, for example. So once you've got content, you own it, and you need to get as much value out of it as possible. I'm not perfect at doing this in any which way, shape or form, but I've started to. So when I do my live feed Facebook events, whatever they're called, Facebook Live, I now try to get those transcribed, and then I get my writer to summarize them into a Facebook post. So anyone who doesn't really want to watch a live feed, they might read the Facebook post. So now I've got 2 hits with me only doing a 5-minute Facebook post. And that then creates the grounding for a proper blog article, if you like. So me doing 5 minutes work can actually lead to quite a number of other things without any more input, once you've got your strategies, your systems and your plans in place for how your content's going to be created. Again, a little bit more on that in a minute. So, and then things like case studies and testimonials, it's important. So you need to be able to, any client that comes in contact with your company, try to get from them some sort of feedback about the way you serve them. A, it's the only way you're going to improve, and B, it's gold when it comes to marketing. So stuff like that, I think as a content manager, they need to be curating that, making sure it's everybody who touches the company try to get something of value out of them, and obviously give them something value in return. Okay, so you've then got a web developer, which is basically someone who's going to set up. So I'm just going to flip back just to give you. So this is the content manager up here. Now we'll talk about the web developer, copywriter, graphic designer, and the research assistant in this little blue box. So web developer, this is someone who's just going to help you set up all your websites, whether that's your blogs, and make sure they're all mobile responsive, set them up for speed, for SEO, ease of maintenance. So for example, I now use WordPress. I try to find a theme. I try not to do any or as little modification of that as possible. So therefore anyone can maintain it. In the past, I've set up really complicated databases in the back end. Well, my web developer did, I should say. And what it meant was I couldn't update the themes, because if I updated the themes, it would break all the links he produced. And no one could maintain it except for him, because it's super complicated. And that's just an absolute failing, in my opinion. It's really poor web development, in my opinion. So that is key to be able to outsource your ongoing maintenance, is think from the beginning, before you get your web developer, what is it I want them to produce? And A is a really super easy to maintain platform, and then get them to then produce the training material and the maintenance guides as part of their service. So therefore you can get your VA, for £2-3 an hour to maintain those and to keep those updated without the need for your expensive professional web developer who's going to have more skills from the beginning, if you like. You then got your lead copywriter. And again, to begin with, this might be you, but quite quickly you can get somebody else. So I've got a UK-based PA now, and she's good at sort of marketing and putting words on paper. So now I get her to review my any articles that my VAs produce, in order for her to write them into a British sort of colloquial, chatty sort of voice, is what I'm looking for. And then I'll always skim over them, make sure I'm happy with them before they're posted. But she's then responsible for making sure the content goes out, or she's responsible for the content goes out, but I still hold on to that role. I've not managed to let that go completely yet. And that's really because I've not put enough time into actually creating a system and a training program so that the person I'm delegating it to really understands what I want from it. Because all this stuff just takes time. So and you've got to move forward, and you can't spend too long on doing any one thing and come back to that. And then when you've got an idea of what it is you're really trying to produce, then systemize it, if you like, which is the next stage for me in that respect. Okay, so graphic designer, this is a key person to get in your company. There's so many bits of your company that you need to look pretty. And so therefore, the graphic designer is a really perfect person to get involved in early on, to be able to help you get your brand guidelines, for example, set up as early as humanly possible, because that dictates the way everything across your company is going to look. So they also help with the website design, the layout, making sure it looks pretty, and also any repurpose stuff, repurpose articles you do, so infographics and things like that, then they can help get all that set up. Social media manager, in my opinion, this is somebody who's going to manage who manages your scheduling of your posts and also curates to make sure that things going out there are getting well utilized across different platforms, if you see fit. This is not something that I have any experience with, so I'm going to move on from this. These are just some ideas I have, and with regards to my strategy, I'm going to talk about in a second, which is quite different from this. I started out trying to do all this and realized at the moment it's not actually that important for me to be on multiple platforms, in my opinion. And I think that for most people, they look at it, focusing on one single platform is probably more important than trying to get everywhere or be everything's everyone. Again, so creating your accounts, so whether that be setting up your Facebook pages or creating your Twitter accounts and all the rest of it, you need somebody who knows what they're doing to get that set up. What I've done is I've found some really good training material, and I then got my VA to work through that training material while she set up my page for me. So although I didn't hire a professional to do it, I outsourced the training to a series of training videos, and then my VA basically worked through it, and it came with a workbook, and she went through and actually set up the page. It's all set up really professionally, even though she didn't actually know what she was doing when she started. She now does. And then so the next page, when she'll then go back through my old pages, which I set up really quickly, and make sure they're all set up really, really well. So that's one way to outsource your stuff and save having to get professional people in, because they do end up charging a lot of money. And then if you're going to go down the route of Facebook advertising, I've looked at this myself. It's probably not that, if you really put some time into it, but you need somebody who knows Facebook advertising, how to use the ad platform, the ads manager, and how to, for example, segment your marketing, how to send out to specific groups of people that meet your that match up with your avatar, for example, how to actually find out if sorry, I got distracted by a comment. And to be able to report back to you to find out which things are working, which things aren't, where you should be focusing your marketing budgets. That's quite a lot of stuff going on. And to try to do that yourself, to learn that's going to be a full-time job for a little while you learn it, or to give that job to a random VA who you just pick up and say, can you deal with my Facebook advertising, is a quick route to failure, unless you're prepared to give them all the training they need by getting some really good online training material, or maybe some coaching to actually get that person and nurture that person and train them up to be your Facebook advertising ads manager expert. Alternatively, you can hire someone that knows what they're doing from the outset. So there's two different routes to doing it, and you have to decide which route you're going to go on. If it's something you're going to really go at and you think it's going to be important to your business, then maybe actually training somebody up, as I've done with some other stuff that I use regularly, training somebody up to become an expert in your company is definitely worth thinking about. Customer relationship manager. I don't mean the CRM as in the software. I mean somebody who is responsible for making sure your clients have an amazing experience. And somebody should have that role. And at the moment, in my company, it's me. I want to make sure that my clients have an amazing experience. I'm working hard to do that. At some point, I'd like to be able to offload that job to somebody else. But it's a role, and therefore it can be compartmentalized to say, okay, at some point I want to offload this role, therefore I need to define what that role is. Otherwise I can never do that. And that person will be responsible for people like the direct marketing manager. These are the names I just made up. Basically, you're sending out emails to people, you're sending out messages, you're sending out direct messaging to people. What is that content? What is your goals from it? What's the call to action? Who is managing that? Who's managing the responses that you can get back in, the replies, and making sure that people you have sent stuff out to are actually getting the interactions and that are required in order to get that person from being maybe a cold lead who may have just ticked a like on some post you've done, all the way through to being a fully fledged client or fan, if you like. Again, CRM setup, so just somebody professional to set up the CRM. Technical support, really, really key role in my opinion. Somebody who can just maintain the status quo of all your technical stuff. Help you set up Zaps if you're using Zapier. Help you set up all the integrations between your payment cards and your CRM or your email marketing, your task management stuff, making sure, even not making sure, so I use mine, so I'll come up with an idea and I'll train them how to say set up a Google form that then has a Zap that links to Asana, so everything comes back to my Asana. And basically I then get them to do that once and train them how to do that, and then if I've got a new form, I've just got a template that I fill out now, and I send them the details of the template of the Zap that I want them to create and what I want it to do, where I need the project to be created in Asana, and then they're going to set it all up. And it just saves me all the faff because they do the testing and they get it all set up nicely, and it saves me a huge amount of time. It's all that sort of stuff. You can, in my opinion, many of these technical support roles, if not all of them, you should be able to outsource to any tech-savvy VA. You just need to make sure the person who sets things up in the first place, whether that's you or whether that's a web developer, for example, provides you with some videos of how to maintain the sites and how you keep them updated. And that, in my opinion, would be a prerequisite of the job role of hiring any professional to help me in the company. For example, for setting pages up. So that was really just an overview of what I envisage my social media marketing department, if you like, to be. And really, when you break it down, there is multiple roles which you need to be looking to. Let's flip back to this. So multiple roles which you need to be looking at when you're thinking about your social media marketing. What is your social media marketing, and who do you need to actually get everything, all the pieces in the puzzle together in order to make it work? And in my opinion, it'd be difficult to get all of those from one single person. Okay, so this is just a quick recap, or a quick summary, if you like, of stuff that I've done, what's worked, what's not, and hopefully this will be helpful for anyone who's at that point now where they're going to go through it. So my general thoughts, it's definitely not a one-man operation for all the reasons I've already said. One of the biggest, not surprised, that's the wrong word, but I underestimated, let's put it that way, the amount of time it takes to support your team in doing this sort of stuff. And by this stuff, I mean setting up a web page, creating a Facebook page, thinking about content, what's going to go out, when's it going to go out, how is it going to be written, if you like, what channels are you going to go onto, what platforms are you going to go onto, all that sort of stuff. You need to think a lot about this before you actually do it. And so, yeah, and as I said, it takes much more time than you think it will. So getting a web page built, for example, takes a huge amount more time, your own time. Even if you've had a web designer and a web developer, you still have to give them everything for them to be able to put it online. So just bear that in mind before you actually set up. Make sure you've got the time to do it. And yeah, if you're going to create content, if you're going to start publishing stuff, start small and start, in my opinion, my advice would be to create a pipeline of your content creation. So from how you're going to come up with your topics, and we'll talk about this in a second, how you're going to actually draft those into potential articles, who's going to approve them, who's going to do the final drafting, who's going to sign them off, and how are they going to get it published online. If you've not got that set up, and you just start blogging, for example, you'll do what I did. I started blogging, I got a few posts out there, and then it all dried up because I hadn't got my pipeline in. So I had a few great ideas and got that out quickly. I got them busy with something else, and then the pipeline sort of fails and dries up. So try to get all that set up beforehand. And yeah, consider someone who's going to do your final editing. And Grammarly Professional, not the free version, the professional version is actually very good. So if for a small investment, it gives you a lot of both grammatic and the spelling side of stuff, which is really good, especially if you're using VAs. Get them to put everything through Grammarly Professional. It'll increase the professionalism, if you like, of the copy. Quick questions to ask yourself before you set out on anything, but for this is for social media, is why are you doing it? Have you got time to do it? Have you planned this is for social media, if you plan what you're going to do with each new contact? Because again, it's something that I didn't really think about. So I generated lots of new contacts. I did a webinar, I got loads of email addresses, and created an email list. I've got email marketing stuff, but I hadn't set up what I was going to send those people once I've got them on my email list. And therefore they sort of just sat there and I've never really had any input from my email, any output from my email stuff, because I've been concentrating on other bits. So if you're not going to use that particular medium, if you like, then do you really need to capture it? Or could you be better actually building your brand by not forcing people to give you your email address and just getting posts out there? Or if you are going to do emails, then make sure you've got something set up so you actually you make some use of it. And this point here about, is your current business running smoothly? So, and this has really flipped my strategy, if you like, on its head, which I'll talk about in a second. If your business currently isn't running smoothly, you haven't already outsourced much of your admin, and therefore your input on that day-to-day ticking over your business, if that's not almost completely outsourced, then you are going to basically create yourself a huge another amount of work, even if it's only on the short term, a huge amount of work that if you haven't got the time to sort out your own business at the moment, and that's not a tickety-boo, then you're going to fail at two things if you try to take on another big project, such as bringing in a social media marketing person who you're going to have to support and nurture for all the reasons I've already gone through and all the reasons I've failed at miserably from trying to do just that, trying to take on too much before I was ready to actually do that. So if you're going to start a social media strategy, if you like, then have a plan. And this is my plan. Know what your goals are, know what who your target audience is, where they reside, know what content you're going to actually deliver to them, what interactions you're going to have with those people. Is it going to be on one-to-one messaging? Is it going to be just through publishing, so just delivery, or do you want people to engage with people? And how are you going to follow up on each and every one of those people that interacts with you? And set that out before you start. And if I'd done that 6 months ago, probably couldn't have done that 6 months ago, to be honest, or 9 months ago, whenever I started, because I didn't really know what I didn't know. But I wish when I started with social media, I wish I paused my social media completely almost, except for my Facebook group, which has been brilliant, pause that completely until I was actually at this point now and I can answer all of those questions. And only when I can answer all those questions do I now feel confident about starting my social media journey, if you like, into building whatever the social media is for me. So these were my previous goals that I sort of had, and I've sort of penciled these down, but not really anything formal. So create a blog, do Facebook marketing, increase social media, create a marketing funnel, and build an online brand. They're quite vague. There's a huge amount of stuff in there to be able to actually do, and therefore none of it really got done very well. So what's not worked? Website. For all the reasons I said before, hadn't planned it. I didn't understand the amount of input be required. It took weeks and weeks for me to provide the material that he needed to build the site. Didn't have brand guidelines, so I had to then get a graphic designer in halfway through to develop some sort of brand guidelines to get some consistency across the brand. I didn't have a designer, so therefore I had a web developer trying to do design work, which slowed things as well, because I was going back saying, I don't like the look of that, I don't like the look of that. If you get a designer in to begin with, they do some sketches of what your website's going to be like, the developer can make that happen really easily. And for maintenance, as I said before, I didn't stick to a standard, and therefore maintenance became a nightmare. And content, what you're going to put in there, you need to know what it is on every single page before you get your developer involved. So that would be my opinion. So what's not worked as well? Blog posts. Trying to basically outsource blog posts without really knowing what it is that entails. So this is now the process that I go through for creating a new blog post and who's involved in it. So I'll talk about how you find topics, or how I systemize finding topics in a second. My writer then creates an outline, which I have a template for, and that specifically is just bullet points. These are the things that we're going to cover in this article. Editor, so aka me at the moment, reviews that and decides, does it cover the things I want it to, or is there any stuff that I want to get rid of? So it's a really focused article based on the stuff that I want covered in that article. The researcher then finds material based on those points. And then a writer, which is my copywriter, and that research writer may or may not be the same person. They then draft that into a article with roughly the right amount of words, depending on where you're publishing it, whether it be a blog or a Facebook or a Twitter, whatever. And then the editor, again, me at the moment, ensures that the content is in the voice I want it to be, and is or more at this point, it's the content's there, that all the facts are there that I want, that it's referenced in the way I want it to be. And there's a clear call to action. Next, you'd actually have another step in here. Basically, I then pass that over to my PA editor, who also puts it into the voice and makes sure it sounds really chatty, as I said before, and in the way I want it to be written. And then you can get that material repurposed. So your writer can then create your article into a post, into a Twitter feed, etc., or an infographic. So you can get your graphic designer involved. Got to get your articles done through SEO, so you need an SEO person to be able to help you with that. You need to find some images, so you need image bank, and then you need to actually schedule your post. So this will be done by your social media manager, if you like. So that is what I use when I now create articles, and I've got a whole strategy written around this, and there's templates for each, there's guidelines how things should be done, and therefore it means I can actually give that to somebody else to do for me. So just something to think about, just setting up before you start thinking about getting a copywriter, getting a blogger, whatever it is quite a lot of stages involved in getting blogs out there in the way that you want them to be delivered. So what has worked? So building a warm list, if you like. So I posted hopefully quality content on the Facebook groups, get a lot of feedback from that. I invite those people to join my Facebook group, and I then add value to my Facebook group by continuing to post interesting stuff out. I've got a WordPress blog with a opt-in form on, and as I said before, so I'm getting email addresses. I'm not actually doing a lot with them at the moment. That's one of the next stages in my marketing strategy, if you like. But at least that is a funnel, so I can direct people there, and they can then opt in if they want. Commenting on Facebook posts, same as sort of posting as well, just basically getting exposure, brand out there. That's been the best ways I've found to increase my brand awareness, if you like, for a better word. And giving away free stuff, that's always nice. And hundreds of people click on stuff when I give it away for free, so that's really cool. Systemizing the content ideas. So this was really useful, because at the beginning I was sort of generating all my own ideas, and for content, I think that coming up with good ideas is one of the key things. You want your articles to be interesting, and you want people to read them, because if you're just producing stuff and sticking it out there, then you're not actually going to get a lot of engagement from it unless it answers somebody's pain point and solves a problem they're having. So really good ways to find people's pain points. And I have written a blog on this as well, which I can direct you to. But the point is that you need to answer a question that's been asked by somebody. So where do you get those questions from? Everybody you speak to, you can ask them, what is your pain point about subject X? On my Facebook group, when people sign up, they ask that question. What is their problems with systems and outsourcing? Gives you food for thought. Lots of people say the same stuff. If something comes up multiple times, then it's a common problem, I should say, and therefore writing an article on it will probably give you a good reach, because people will be interested and they might share it because it's interesting to others. You can also look at existing key people in your field and see what are they blogging about, but not only what they're blogging about, because a lot of their blogs are just flop as well. What are they blogging about that gets a lot of reactions? You can do the same with podcasts, which are the most popular podcasts. Go onto forums, see questions, which ones have lots of answers, which ones are retweeted, etc., and which ones get the highest engagement. And also, if you ever hit any problem in your own journey, record that. So you can systemize a lot of it by getting your VA to do all of those top 4 there, if you like, and then obviously you can record your own as well. What do I currently outsource with regards to social media? So blog post ideas, as I've just described, research, drafting, editing, repurposing stuff, doing actual publishing of the blogs and actually getting it on there, finding photos, SEO side of things as well. And then locating posts on Facebook groups. So doing searches on relevant Facebook groups for things that I might want to respond to and get involved with, conversations I respond to and get involved with. And then getting my VA to befriend, and invite people to the Facebook group to actually get them more involved on a one-to-one basis. So my current marketing strategy, however, is very different. And I've really pulled away from expanding on getting more and more people at the moment, because I want to focus on getting one person done right. And ideally, it would be the perfect journey, if you like, for a client. And the reason I share this, ideally it would be the perfect version, but you've got to at some point say, yeah, that's good enough. And the reason I share this is because I spent a long time feeling I needed to get on social media. I needed to have a Facebook page, a brand page. I needed to have a Facebook group. I needed to start a podcast, a Twitter feed, all this stuff. And there probably is some truth that at some point you will need all of those things. If you want to grow and scale and want to reach a huge audience, of course you do. But I think that if I focus my efforts entirely on answering this question, if you like, or this goal, achieving this goal first, then with the exception of my Facebook group, which is how I've actually got a lot of exposure to be able to find clients like yourselves to actually work with, if I just focused on making sure my business, my core business, really worked well, that every person that comes in contact with that business had a great experience, a remarkable experience, as in remarkable, so to be remarked upon, so therefore people will actually talk about it on social media and also refer people to you. Because if it's that good, you don't want to tell people about it. And I've had some a huge amount of referrals, which is really, really positive. But I want, my goal is to make sure that nearly everybody, and you can't please all the people all the time. So I'm going to say nearly everybody. So I've given a figure of 90% would give me a referral if given the opportunity. That's my goal. And how I'm going to do that is by doing all these things that I'm doing at the moment, by improving the product, by offering services that meet the needs and the pain points I've seen with my clients as they've gone through the whole systems and outsourcing process, if you like. And then just listen and iterate and modify. And then only when that is all tested and then systemize, once I do a lot of testing before I start systemizing stuff, it takes time to systemize all these processes. But once you've got that, then automate what you can. And then final stage, which I've not got to yet, will be that should be step 4, not step 3. We'll be able to actually roll that out, to actually get that to a wider audience. So just food for thought, really, that I've actually pulled away from social media as such to focus on some other things. So take home thoughts, make sure focus on your own business first, in my opinion. Get your admin systemized, so therefore you'll have time to dedicate to your social media and your marketing strategies. Because if your current business doesn't function, what are you going to do when you get 10, 50, 100 new clients hitting your business? It's going to fail. You can either fail with one client at a time, or you can fail with 50 clients at a time. And I know which one I prefer. So get that done right. And that's from personal experience and things not going right when I tried to grow too quickly. So I've scaled back. I'm looking at going back to my roots, focusing on my core, and then I'm going to go out again once I've got that nailed. If you are going to go and get out there, which you should in some way, say, shape or form, for example, Facebook is my one-to-one reactions on Facebook is my main strategy, if you like, for my social media, and just have a clear goals. What do you want from it? Who do you want to get it from, and how are you going to get it? And then you can think about who you need to help you do that. And I seriously advise on trying to focus on one platform first. I mean, you can have a blog and a Facebook post, that's fine, because you can just repurpose really easily. But know your platform. I mean, there's I can't remember how many billion people on Facebook. I think I wrote it down somewhere so we can see it. 1.23 billion daily individual users on Facebook last year, and 94% of those are on mobile. So make sure your stuff's mobile responsive, and make sure it's on Facebook, and then think about everything else. That would be my opinion. And systemize what you're doing on one platform before you try to do it on something else. So therefore, when you walk away, a bit like I've done before, as I got my posting up, I was posting about once every fortnight, which is great. I then got ill, I got distracted, and I realized how I hadn't systemized as much as I thought I had, and it basically fell to the wayside because I wasn't able to I was the bottleneck. So think about that before you move on to something else, in my opinion. Okay, and make sure you've got enough time. And that really comes from, like I said before, systemizing your current business properly before you start on trying to take on a new project.